Picture yourself trapped in a sinking submarine. The hull is breached, the power is dead, and the compartment is filling with water. Your oxygen supply will run out in a matter of minutes. Another survivor in the corridor happens to hold the only remaining emergency oxygen mask. They offer you a deal. They will hand over the mask, but only if you sign over your entire $5 million life savings right now. Standard neoclassical economics defines this as a rational market clearing. Because you value your life more than your money in this moment, you agree to the price. Supply meets demand, and the transaction is categorized as voluntary and efficient. But your nervous system doesn't register an efficient market. Your biology registers a physical assault. We call this daylight robbery, because the person holding the mask is using the deadly friction of your environment to extract your wealth. What academic textbooks defend as equilibrium, human intuition identifies as a hostage situation. This gap between theory and intuition exists because our standard models ignore the physics of the environment itself. Vector field theory, VFT, provides a framework to measure that environmental friction. It treats economics as a branch of social physics, mapping how external conditions dictate the price of any resource. This graph maps the two primary metrics of any transaction. On the horizontal axis, we have scarcity, the lack of viable alternatives. On the vertical axis is urgency, the shrinking time window you have to acquire a need before systemic failure occurs. As either metric approaches its maximum limit, the possibility of a voluntary exchange evaporates. When scarcity is absolute and urgency is terminal, the environment forces the price toward infinity. At this coordinate, the market is simply measuring the power of the leverage, not the value of the good. This topological map applies to any resource that maintains a biological system. Whether you are measuring oxygen molecules in a submarine or units of capital in a household, the math of extraction remains the same. Let's apply this to the debt matrix. When credit is abundant and your need is optional, borrowing serves as a productive tool. You access capital at a competitive rate and use it to build wealth. This is the net benefit zone. This safe zone exists below what we call the 1.0 boundary. Within these coordinates, the interest you pay reflects the administrative cost and a fair risk premium. The transaction produces more value for the borrower than it consumes. But a medical emergency or a sudden job loss changes the coordinates. Your credit options vanish, raising scarcity, while your need for immediate funds spikes urgency. The data point moves across the 1.0 boundary and into the top right corner of the grid. Crossing this line triggers a phase flip. The loan is no longer priced on capitalist. It is priced on the fact that you have no other choice. The interest rate stops reflecting the cost of the money and begins to capture your entire future earning capacity. In this quadrant, the financial product operates as a mechanism for unearned wealth extraction. The lender is no longer providing a service. They are capturing the local reality tensor to force a transfer of your future labor. The survivor in the submarine held a physical oxygen tank, requiring energy to manufacture and maintain. Their leverage was based on a tangible, finite resource. Commercial banks operate differently. When a bank issues a loan, they do not draw from a vault of pre-existing savings. They create the principal through digital keystrokes. They assume zero physical risk because the capital itself is generated out of thin air. When a bank applies high-urgency compound interest to this zero-risk, digitally created capital, they generate what we call moral debt. This is a literal drain on the borrower's future capacity to pay for money that cost the lender nothing to produce. In this framework, the bank functions as the submarine extortionist, with one key advantage: they don't have to produce the oxygen they hold for ransom. This raises the question of why so much of our modern economy remains in this high-urgency, high-scarcity state. Any actor who understands the debt matrix can reverse engineer the environment to ensure maximum extraction. Vector field theory calls this the smart, selfish actor, institutions that actively push the population toward the top right corner to capture more value. To manufacture urgency, actors allow housing and healthcare costs to rise while wages remain flat, moving your baseline coordinate toward the 1.0 boundary. To manufacture scarcity, they consolidate local lending into megabanks, removing alternatives until only the highest rate lender remains. The persistence of these high costs and limited options ensures a constant flow of wealth from the bottom left of the matrix to the top right. This environment is designed to maximize the transfer of wealth through structural pressure. The door is shut, the water is rising. We are back in the submarine. Record-breaking bank profits are the numerical expression of this environment. They reflect a population held in a high-friction survival state, where the price of staying afloat is everything they have. If you feel constant financial anxiety, your stress is not a personal failure. It is a biological response to a hostile reality tensor. Your nervous system is correctly identifying that the environment has been shifted against you. The modern banking system operates exactly like the man charging for air on a sinking ship. The final realization is that the same system profiting from your desperation is the one that ensured the ship would sink in the first place.